Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about another method of solving a quadratic equation. So our first method that we used to solve a quadratic equation was factoring. Today we're going to talk about a method solved by completing the square. So the perfect square trinomials can solve quickly by taking the square root of both sides of the equation. A quadratic equation that is not a perfect square form can be made into a perfect square by completing the square. So, to complete the square for any quadrant of the form x squared plus bx. So notice that a equals 1. So if a equals 1, we're going to find 1/2 of b, the coefficient of x, and then we're going to square that. And our result from step 2 will be x squared plus bx plus b over 2 squared. And that factored will always be x plus b over 2 quantity squared. So here's how we find c. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to notice a is 1. We're going to take the b, which is 2, and we're going to find 1/2 of b. So that's 1. We're then going to square 1, which is 1, and then we add 1. So that gives us x squared plus 2x plus 1, which when we factor is x plus 1 times x plus 1, or x plus 1 squared. So let's practice finding c. So we're going to find the value of c that makes each trinomial a perfect square. Then we're going to write the trinomial as the square of the binomial. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check. These all have a equals 1. So we don't need to worry about that. So the second step is we do b over 2. So in number 1, it's 10 divided by 2, which is 5. And then c equals 5 squared, which is 25. So our polynomial is then x squared plus 10x plus 25. And that factored is x plus 5 quantity squared. And our 5 will always be the same as what we got when we divided by 2. So number 2. Actually, I'm going to do number 3. So I'm going to take b, which is negative 4. So it's negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. Then c is negative 2 squared. So that's 4. So our polynomial is x squared minus 4x plus 4. And factored is x minus 2 squared. So I want you to pause, and I want you to do the rest up to 10 and come back and check. Okay, so I did up to 6, and I want to check in with you. So again, the first thing I do is I take my b, 14 divided by 2, that gives me 7. So my c then is 7 squared, which is 49. So that gives me x squared plus 14x plus 49 equals x plus 7 squared. Number 4, I take my b, which is negative 8, divided by 2 gives me negative 4. C is negative 4 squared, which remember negative times a negative is a positive, so c is 16. So that gives me x squared minus 8x plus 16. So that factored is x minus 4 squared. 5 and 6 I kind of color-coded so you could see what I'm doing. So I did 5 divided by 2, which gave me 2.5. C then is 2.5 squared, which is 6.25. So my equation is x squared plus 5x plus 6.25, which is the C. And that equals x plus 2.5, which is what I got when I divided my b by 2 squared. 6, c is 20.25. That factored gives me x plus 4.5 squared. So go ahead, if you need to, fix 7 through 10, come back and check them. So when I finish those up, 7, I do negative 3 divided by 2, which gives me negative 1.5. C then is 2.25. So then my equation is x squared minus 3x plus 2.25, which equals x minus 1.5 quantity squared. 8, I do negative 15 divided by 2, which gives me negative 7.5. Square that, which gives me c equals 56.25. So my equation, or my expression, is x squared minus 15x plus 56.25. That factored is x minus 7.5 squared. 9, 28 divided by 2 is 14. 14 squared is 196. So my expression is x squared plus 28x plus 196 equals x plus 14 squared. Take 22 divided by 2 and 10 gives me 11. C is 121. So it's x squared plus 22x plus 121 equals x plus 11 quantity squared. So now that we know how to complete the square, we're going to look at solve by completing the square. Since few quadratic expressions are perfect square trinomials, the method completing the square can be used to solve some quadratic equations using the following steps to complete the square for a quadratic of the form ax squared plus bx. So if we want to solve x squared plus 6x plus 3 equals 10 by completing the square, the first thing I'm going to do is, I didn't put it over here, but I like to first of all subtract 3. So that my equation is just x squared plus 6x equals 7. And then I'm going to say that I want to add something to both sides, because I can add anything I want to both sides as long as I do it to both sides. Now I'm going to find b over 2. So b over 2 is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And then I square that. So 3 squared is 9. That 9 is the number that I want to add to both sides. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides of my equation. Now that I added 9 to both sides, I'm going to remember that I got 9 by doing 3 squared. So x squared plus 6x plus 9 factored is x plus 3 quantity squared. And that equals 16, which is 7 plus 9. Now, since the left side is a perfect square, I can take square root of both sides, remembering that when I take square root of a number, I need to do plus or minus. So the square root of x plus 3 squared is x plus 3, and that equals plus or minus 4, which is the square root of 16. So then to finish that, I set x plus 3 equal to positive 4, or x plus 3 equal to negative 4, because those are my two possibilities. I solve those two mini equations and I get x equals 1. Or when I solve this equation, x plus 3 equals negative 4, I get x equals negative 7. So the solution set is 1 or negative 7. So now let's solve another one by completing the square. So what I want to do here is I always want to start by getting it so the left side is just my x squared minus my bx. And so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And then I want to figure out what I add to both sides to make the left be a perfect square. So that's why I say x squared minus 4x plus something equals negative 3 plus something. How I figure out what that something is I do my b, which is negative 4 in this case, divided by 2, which is negative 2. And then I take that value and I'm going to square it. So negative 2 squared is 4. So I add 4 to both sides. Now that I added 4 to both sides, on the left here, I have a perfect square, trinomial. And what it's going to be is x minus 2 squared, because it's always whatever I got when I divided by 2. And that equals 1, because negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Now I can take square root of both sides, remembering that when I take square root of a number, it's plus or minus. So I get x minus 2 equals plus or minus 1, because square root of 1 is 1. And then solve each one of those. So x minus 2 equals 1, or x minus 2 equals negative 1. I solve those two mini equations by adding 2 on this one, which gives me x equals 3. Add 2 on this one, which gives me x equals 1. So the solution set is 1 or 3. I want you to pause and I want you to do 12 and 13 and come back and check. So I finished solving 12 and 13. For 12, it already had x squared plus bx. So I took b, divided by 2, got 5, squared that, got 25. I added 25 to both sides. That gave me x plus 5 squared equals 16. Take square root of both sides, remembering plus or minus. So I got x plus 5 equals plus or minus 4. So x plus 5 equals 4 gives me the solution x equals negative 1. X plus 5 equals negative 4 gives me the solution x equals negative 9. 13, I started by adding 9 to both sides. So that gave me x squared minus x, 8x plus what equals 9 plus what. I found C by doing negative b divided by 2. So it's not negative b, just b divided by 2. So it's negative 8 divided by 2 equals negative 4. Squared that, I added 16. So that's x minus 4 squared equals 25. Square root of both sides. So x minus 4 equals 5, which gives me x equals 9. X minus 4 equals negative 5, which gave me x equals negative 1. So that is the end of our videos for today. If you have any questions, please ask me tomorrow in class.